In today's class, we will be discussing about the normal waveforms we use to assess diastolic function in transesophageal echocardiography. So, diastolic function evaluation can be done hemodynamically as well as echocardiographically. Hemodynamically, it is done using assessing the left ventricular pressure volume relationships during diastolic filling. While echocardiographically, it is evaluated by analyzing the pattern and the time of flow required between two chambers, like between a left atrium and the left ventricle, or between pulmonary veins and the left atrium. So here the primary determinant of flow is the pressure difference between the two chambers. For example, if there is a diastolic dysfunction, the LV pressure will increase, and that will result in a longer time for the blood to flow from LA to LV. So accordingly, the time of flow will increase and the waveforms get distorted from the normal. So in this session, we will be trying to understand the normal waveforms in a normal diastolic function. So we will see what are the waveforms used. One is the transmitral Doppler analysis using pulse wave Doppler. So usually it is done in mid-esophageal 4-chamber view in transesophageal echocardiography. So we have to position the pulse wave Doppler. A small sample of blood flow will be taken at the level of the mitral valve, and we should make sure that the flow of blood is parallel to the Doppler waveforms. So in a normal waveform, we can see, as seen in the picture, we can see negative deflections are seen in transesophageal echocardiography because the blood is flowing away from the probe. So it shows negative deflections. So there is a negative bigger waveform, that is a early diastolic component, that is a E wave, capital E wave, followed by a late diastolic component, that is the A wave. So E wave is due to rapid filling from the left atrium into the left ventricle, followed by filling in the left ventricle due to atrial contraction, that is the A wave. So this is the one waveform, and from this EA variation we will classify the diastolic dysfunctions, which will be discussed in a later class. So the second waveform which we use to describe the diastolic dysfunction is the pulmonary venous flow analysis. So in this also we can use either the mid-esophageal 4-chamber or the mid-esophageal 2-chamber view, and we should position the mitral valve the pulmonary valve flow in such a way that the flow is parallel to the Doppler waveform. And here also we use a pulse wave Doppler, and we should always ensure that maximum effort to make sure that the direction of blood flow is parallel to the Doppler beam. So in this figure we can see that the waveforms which we see in the pulmonary venous flow analysis, it has, that is the whole of the this is from pulmonary vein to the left atrium. The flow occurs across the pulmonary vein into the left atrium. So the whole of the flow is occurring in the both the systolic and the diastolic flow, both in systole and diastole the flow is occurring into the left atrium from the pulmonary vein. So it is always positive, that is the left atrium is closer to the our probe. So the flow is occurring from the pulmonary valve, the pulmonary vein into the left atrium. So it shows a positive deflection, and in this waveform only a small negative deflection is there, that occurs when the left atrium contracts and ejects the blood to the left ventricle. So in pulmonary venous flow analysis, majority of the flow is positive deflection because the flow is occurring from the pulmonary veins to the left atrium, and a small negative waveform because it is occurring due to the left atrial contraction, and the blood is being ejected from the left atrium into the left ventricle. So the components of the wave, it has a systolic component and a diastolic component, which are both positive. Systolic component can be further divided into S1 and S2, the diastolic component D, and a AR or reversal waveform, atrial reversal due to atrial contraction. So S1 waveform is actually occurring due to a suction effect of LA relaxation, left atrial relaxation, and S2 is occurring due to the pushing of blood by the right ventricle across the pulmonary circulation during systole. So during systole, right ventricle pumps the blood into the pulmonary circulation, and that is reflected as the S2. And D is the diastolic component, and AR is negative atrial wave due to the atrial contraction. So flow occurs towards the probe into the LA in both systole and diastole with a small reversal due to atrial contraction. And in normal circumstances, flow during diastole, that is D wave, is normally less than the systolic velocity. So if we have both S1 and S2 wave, we take S2 into consideration because S2 is occurring due to the flow across two chambers. So S2 is taken and D is taken. So S by D ratio, S is always greater than D in a normal scenario. So if there is a diastolic dysfunction, there can be reversal in this, and we will discuss this in the further classes. So the third waveform which we use to measure diastolic dysfunction is tissue Doppler of mitral valve. So in this, in the previous two waveforms which we used to assess diastolic function, they were all measuring the velocity of the blood, which is actually a high velocity, low amplitude signals. While in tissue Doppler, we are measuring the velocity of the myocardium. That is actually a low velocity, high amplitude signals are measured. So in tissue Doppler, low velocity, high amplitude signals are measured, and this is measured within 1 centimeter of the septal and the lateral annulus insertion points. And we should measure both the septal and the lateral annulus measurements, and we average both values and take a single value after averaging both the lateral and the septal components. So in tissue Doppler of mitral valve, in the normal waveform, we can see two waveforms. That is both are occurring in diastole. So that is the E wave, small e and small a. So it has an early diastolic component which is known as E prime or E dash, and a late diastolic component A prime or A dash. So both these waveforms are occurring in the diastolic point. So results are averaged. We take measurement both at septal and lateral annulus, and how these the results are interpreted with other components will be discussed when we discuss the algorithm for classification of diastolic dysfunction in another class. So another measurement which we take into consideration while considering diastolic dysfunction is LA size measurement. That is best measured in either midesophageal 4-chamber or midesophageal 2-chamber views. So these are the basic measurements we require and the normal waveforms we see in assessing the diastolic dysfunction. Only if we understand these waveforms, then we will be able to interpret further diastolic dysfunction algorithms. Thank you.